What's up, everyone? Today I'm going to be taking you through a really helpful, meaningful, valuable warm-up session that's going to be perfect for any of you who really want to get great at guitar. So often, we as creatives, as guitar players, musicians, we just want to jump right into the songs and solos that we like and try to accumulate those skills through just, learning different songs. What happens inside of that approach, right? If that approach really worked, you'd walk into a guitar center and you'd go, wow, everyone sounds amazing. Well, all of us who have walked into a guitar center know that that's not the case, or any music store, your local music store, that's not really the case. For example, you'll see this often with beginners, going through a song where there's a lot of string bending, and the skill of actually bending a string and using support fingers, if you're using the ring finger, not that you would necessarily need to bend the string that much, but they have these weaker bends because they're not using those support fingers, so they're just using the ring and it sounds kind of weak, and the skill should be refined separately so that you don't actually have to overthink it when you're getting into the songs and solos you want to learn. You can just jump right into them and not think about this simultaneous skill refinement. So this really is great for any skill level. And like I said, it's going to be 20 minutes, or I didn't say that, as you saw on the title or thumbnail or whatever. It's going to be 20 minutes. However, for those of you who are a little squeezed for time, life schedule, work schedule, makes it so that you don't have as much dedicated guitar time, you can bring this back to as low as 10 minutes. So if you just want to get a quick warm-up in before you start playing, I think that is super valuable for skill building. And so you can make this a shorter practice session if you'd like. I will jump right the heck in 1 second, but I will say, if you find this helpful, like the video, subscribe to the channel. What I'd like to do is put these out every Monday so you have a practice session you can stick with for 7 days, really dial in all of the skills inside of that practice session, and then change it next week and go through a whole nother set of skill building that week, refine some things before you start playing. All right, so subscribe to the channel if you find this helpful. Okay, let's jump right into the practice pieces. All right, so it's going to be different exercises. Again, they're going to be timed pieces. That's that. All right, adjust the timing based on what you have available. All right, but I do think 20 minutes gets you the most prepared and really reinforces the skills we'll be working on. Okay, first exercise. We are just going with note identification along the neck from the low E to the high E. All right, and again, depending on your skill level, it's going to mean that you just adjust the speed of the exercise, how fast you cycle through things. All right, so basically we're going to identify every note. So let's start with C, starting on the low E, then the A string, right? Just locating C on every string. There's D, G, B, high E. You go all the way up, you come back down. All right, now again, I'll just quickly, with the metronome, so maybe you're a beginner, this is at 65 BPM. All right, so play something that keeps you honest, but doesn't force you to rush, all right? Keeps you on track, keeps you moving. But again, if you're advanced, make it faster than that. Make it 100 BPM for all I care, right? Move at a pace that feels right for you based on your skill level. Okay, where we'll go from there is we're gonna use the circle of fifths. So we're gonna go to the G, right? Think of a power chord. It's the 1 and the 5, and that's what the circle of fifths is. So we're starting with C. G is the 5th note in the C major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just a quick refresher or insight into what the circle of fifths is, so you can do this on your own. All right, so then we'll go to G. Excuse me. Open. And then we'll we'll come back down. Where do we go after G? Right, same thing. We go to D. Excuse me. Right? You get the idea. Sorry for my own brain farting over here as I'm going through the low E to high E. Right? And then you go from D. You go to the A. All right? And you just work your way through. Set a 5-minute timer. We're going to have 4 exercises here. Set a 5-minute timer. And for those of you, again, who are beginners, maybe you end right there at the A, right? Because it's taking you a second to kind of work through where all the notes are on each string. That's okay, all right? If you're more advanced, maybe you will get through the entire circle of fifths. You'll come back to C, or you'll go beyond, right? If you're going at 100 BPM, you're going to go beyond 1 cycle, and great. You will be turning things on. You will be getting, in that zone of turning your guitar brain on, getting familiar with the neck. And I don't think you can get enough of that. So again, if you're a little newer, it'll just, you'll have to go through things a little bit slower. But if you stick with this for a week, who knows, by the end of the week, you might pick things up, where maybe you start as, low as 40 BPM, but maybe you pick things up to 45 or 50. At least you'll have some objective progress being made, if that makes sense. All right, so there's exercise 1, just going through all of the notes from low E to high E. Don't go up beyond, octaves. You don't have to go beyond the 12th fret. Up to the high E, back down, boom, done. 5-minute timer. Again, if you're pressed for time, 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes if you have it, 4 minutes, whatever, you can adjust based on your timing. The next exercise focuses on alternate picking, so really getting loose with our picking hand. You'll hear it a lot with beginner and intermediate players. They're going through a song, and it just sounds a little stiff because they haven't refined the skill of alternate picking. Something like that. For example, they haven't refined the skill separately. So again, like I said, you're kind of trying to do this, two-pronged approach where you're simultaneously learning some skills while you're trying to learn a song, and that just is too much. It puts too much on your plate. Do this separately and then get into the songs and solos. So what we're going to do, it's not going to be super sexy because, again, we want to refine the skill, but the exercise is simply this. All right? I'm going to play it a few times just so you recognize the pattern. And really, we want to play it even lighter than that. I'm trying to make sure that you hear this, but it should be really light to get a great feel for that picking hand. Right? And of course, you have the tabs being shown, so I'm not going to take you through index, ring, pinky. Look at the tabs, go slowly. How soft can you play it? All right? And you really want to make sure you're alternating on every pick. So that's a downstroke, go back to the up. Down, and now we're coming back up. So don't restart with a down pick. When you go through each cycle, that should always start on a down. That final pick is up, restart on the down, okay? So alternate picking. Really quick, you can go through this going from low E to high E. You can go from low E to high E. You can go horizontally and choose one string. You can just stay on one string, right? And just really get that feel going. You can start a little higher, right, where the frets are closer together, and then work your way down as you get more comfortable. But again, 5 minutes, I will always suggest metronome. Quiet. Right, I will always suggest the metronome. Keep yourself honest and keep yourself consistent and on track, all right? So there's the alternate picking. Starting to feel good, you're starting to loosen up, you're starting to get ready to play all your stuff, right? And again, if you stick with this every day for a week, you stick with this, program of, 10 to 20 minutes of really, concerted efforts, warming your brain and hands up, I think you'll be, the better guitar player for it, all right? Now we can get into some more fun things. We're basically gonna hit a sliding lick. And again, you can play this in one location and be super repetitive. You can work up the neck and down. You can work down the neck and up, yada, 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 all right? But here is the lick. So it's sliding. We're working on the skill of sliding. And again, maybe next week we'll do bending. Maybe we'll do hammer-ons and pull-offs. You don't want to just jam everything into your warm-up session. We're just turning things on, getting loose, getting ready for our playing session. And if hammer-ons and bends and stuff come up in your playing, all good. You'll have another opportunity to refine those skills in the following weeks. But here it is again. And why you want to have a metronome and play light is so that you can hear your errors. You might not be able to hear it. For me, that felt a little sloppy, and you want to have that immediate feedback. I talk about that a lot, the immediate feedback when you really put in some genuine practice efforts. Linger on that, get some vibrato. Maybe that feels a little uncomfortable and you move up. You move up, up here, starting on, ring finger on the 12th fret. It's really up to you. The big thing is listening, making sure you're playing things clean and crisp. When I'm warming up and practicing, I have my amp setting, to a really clean setting so I can hear everything. I like to put some gain, some distortion on, on my playing when I'm, actually jamming or, gigging or whatever. But, those things can kind of cover up some blemishes, which is always great in those scenarios. But when we're warming up, practicing, I think a clean setting is really important so you can hear some of those things, Ooh, some of those slides when I moved up here weren't perfect. That's okay. We're practicing. We're warming up. But there it is. It's just sliding. Set a 5-minute timer. The metronome, I won't beat that over your head, but set a metronome, play through it, and yeah, that's the deal. Sliding, and you got a little string skip in that lick, so helpful stuff with regard to accuracy there as well. All right, so there's that sliding lick. Okay, so very, very applicable. You could throw that into your playing. And what I'll say is, my final thought on that, excuse me, I wanted to go over this, is make sure you're thinking about the scale shapes that apply to that slide, or to that lick. So that would be like an A minor pentatonic where I just played it. Right, so ring finger starting on the 7th fret. And I'll flash the shapes up here, recognize, which pentatonic scale shapes those, intersect with, that we're utilizing there, just so you can visualize and really grasp why we're doing something like that and why it's applicable to your playing right freaking now. All right? So there's the third exercise. We're 15 minutes in now, all right, to the practice session, right? You'd have 15 minutes under your belt. And what we're going to do here is triads. I think triads are super, super important. Every major and minor shape is just built with 3 notes. And so the triads are just those 3 notes, all right? So if you played, our basic G shape, that's just 3 notes. And so our triads boil it down to truly just 3 notes instead of this would be 6 notes, all right? Even though it would be 3 notes, but they're stacked on top of each other and we're playing 6 strings. All right, so we're going to play a really basic chord progression. We're playing 1, 6, 4, 5 in the key of G. So G is the 1, right? That's the root. The 6 in the G major scale would be E minor. And we'll have all the tabs up here. There's C, and there's D. So we'll play it down here one cycle just like that, and then we'll move up. So it reinforces these really important triad shapes. And if you're thinking, well, how does that help me? Well, right, we can run through these shapes and give ourselves basically little anchor points. If you were thinking about lead guitar, I think a lot of times people skip over, chords because they're like, well, that doesn't help me solo and shred. But triads give you a great anchor point. So if we were in the key of G or E minor, you have these great anchor points for, where you could play across the neck, all right? So we've got down here. Okay, G, E minor, C, D, and then we go up here. All right, and then we'll come up. And then we'll restart. Again, the metronome as you're going through this, all right? And for those of you, again, who are beginners, maybe day one, you're just figuring out those shapes and having those nice aha moments of like, okay, the G was down here, and then when we play the D up here, oh my gosh, it's the same shape, right? The guitar gives us those beautiful gifts, the movable shapes. So run through that. 5 minutes, again, beginners, you might just be figuring out the shapes. More advanced players, you might be playing that at 100 BPMs. So beginners, you might want to turn the metronome off for this one. Advanced players, you might want to crank it up because you'll be feeling pretty good here. But there it is. There's 20 minutes of practice that will have your skill refinement pushing you to another level of guitar playing. People love skipping over the hard stuff, the non-sexy stuff, I'll say, and just jumping right into the songs. But those songs aren't going to get better and better if you don't refine these basic skills. Hammer them, hammer them, hammer them. Listen to your favorite guitar players, right? You know that it sounds like them because of the things that they refine on their time, their practice time. They got really great at a certain amount of skills, and now it's being exuded in their playing, right? It's their creative expression coming through on the guitar. But it's because they're so great at those skills, they're becoming automatic. So anyways, take this, run through each exercise for 2.5 to 5 minutes. Again, I think 5 minutes for each exercise is so excellent for your playing and your skill development, but that's time dependent based on your schedule. And I will leave it there. Have fun. I'll see you on the next one. Like and subscribe. I'll see you with this exact type of thing next week. Peace.